What are the cycles fathers pass down that sons are left to heal? What if being a man wasn't about holding it all together, but learning how to let go? This is a space where men speak truth and find the power to heal and transform. I'm Mike Della Rocha. Welcome to Sacred Lessons. Welcome to Sacred Lessons. I'm Mike Della Rocha. This episode will shed light on how we can heal through culture, art, and ancestral remembrance. Today's guest intimately knows this path. Writer, poet, healer, and community organizer, my dear mentor, Luis J. Rodríguez. You have to go through the wound to actually embrace your full gift and purpose and ashe here.
Yeah.
And so I kind of feel like, we are in the birthing canal of a new society.
Is that exactly right?
But also we're in a new birthing canal, and like, what does it mean to be a man or just a person?
Yeah.
And I was sharing earlier, because I know you love words as much as I do. I don't have the vocabulary language yet to express what you were talking about, like embracing all of it. Because as soon as I say man, there's a lot of preconditions, there's a lot of expectations that come up. Yeah. But I'm limited because in the society I live in, we're talking as two people that identify as a man.
Yeah.
And it's part of this rebirth is new language, new art.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you really quickly what I learned in my life. I started off as a sensitive kid. Most of us do. Mm-hmm. I'm a boy, but I'm sensitive. I was put down for it because in my body or my home, what's wrong with you? I wanted to be in my imagination. I like playing with my army men, my little trucks. And I even played dolls with my sisters. I didn't think twice about it. But you can't do that in the neighborhood. So I was playing dolls with a neighbor, a little girl, same age. She had playing dolls. I played with her like playing dolls with her like my sisters. Two of my little homies walked by and they saw me. And I was like 9 years old. I got hell for it at school. People called me out. And they even beat me up. They jumped me and they cracked my jaw. And I had a calcium buildup. That's why I have a big jaw. It's still to this day, I only got 3 places my teeth meet. I was ugly. People made fun of me. But then the gang, 2 years later, I joined the gang. They embraced it. They embraced this defect. It became who I was. I identified with it. I never got it fixed. I should have got it fixed. I didn't. And the reason I mentioned that because I had to toughen up. But toughening up in the body was different than toughening up in an indigenous community where initiation gets you tougher, but it also gets you more sensitive. The sensitive thing had to go. So I had to learn to toughen up because I'm going to jails. I'm facing everybody. People put razor blade to my neck. I had to stab people. I had to shoot people. This is part of the body. It's part of my story. But I could have lost that sensitivity forever. But what happened is that through the movement, through art, through people who were seeing my worth, I went back to it, but I couldn't. It doesn't mean you lose being tough. I didn't go back to being that child. I had to become a new guy. I'm still tough, but you don't see it that way much because I have many more dimensional ways to go. I have language, I have a centering, I have a lot of things. Like, for example, my home, I used to yell all the time. I don't yell at home. We try not to yell at the home anymore. I have my sons there. I have my daughter comes, whatever. I have 3 sons and a daughter. I have grandkids, great-grandkids. We don't yell. You know what I'm saying? If we have something to say, we say it with a lot of love and a lot of caring, and people get it. It changed, but it never used to be that way. I used to yell. I used to be upset. I learned to realize that I need to get back to that sense of human being. It's okay to hang on to the toughness. If somebody wants to mess with me, I can handle it. But for the most part, I don't have to deal with that because people open up when they see that you're got more dimensions to you than just, I'm a tough guy. Tough guys close doors, So I learned that I had to stop being that mutated tough guy that the body insisted, that the jails and the gangs insist. Even though gangs can actually be liberated up to a point, they're still not the form that could take you all the way through. But I had to learn to get back to my sensitivity, get back and then hang on to all what I learned. You know what I'm trying to get at. You don't lose it. You just kind of keep elevating it further and further.
Because what I'm learning in this conversation is like, we're not discarding anything, we're expanding.
Exactly right.
So as a man, there's moments where I have to be societally defined tough.
Yeah.
Or like man up, as folks would say.
Right.
But that doesn't discount other times when I have to allow also that sensitive side to me to also come which sometimes, you know, to me, it's harder to be sensitive than it is to be tough.
I know.
And that's like the hardest thing, but we're taught the opposite of that.
And I think it's important because I go to men's conferences, I go to prisons, I do women and men prison, but mostly men. I go to juvenile facilities. I have to help people understand this because they're caught completely arrested development in the man idea of what's manhood, and they're imprisoned by it.
Yeah.
They're looking to be liberated from that. And again, but I can't tell them, well, now you're going to be a sensitive guy, you're not going to be tough. But you can't do it that way. For them, it's like, dude, I got this way. What can I be sensitive still? So I agree with you, and I think that's really important that we learn to realize that there's humanity, the way Creator and Spirit created everything, can do so much. It's very abundant. If you go through the limitations, if you understand the limitations, you can find abundance. Like people want to know, well, how do you get abundance out? Okay, somebody was arguing that in Alaska, in the northern part where the Inuit people live, it's so cold that there's no abundance there. And I go, yeah, but talk to the Inuit people. They found abundance. They found a way to find abundance with all the scarcity. There's scarcity that's real and scarcity that's made up. Most of what we're dealing with is scarcity that's made up. And so we can find our abundantness within us. You can find it in nature, but let's make sure that we're abundant in this world and not the scarcity person that, it's either win or lose. You're not going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm stepping over people, kill or be killed, do or die. All these words that we grow up with. It's about the abundance that we can build for ourselves and others, because really we are abundant human beings. Spiritually, we can be abundant. Nature is abundant, but you got to know those laws and those rhythms and those things. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. In other words, you can't just fantasize, I'm an abundant person, and then there's real things you have to understand to be that way.
And I think one of the things I'm grateful for is you have been one of those people, those like men, father figures in my life to guide me to understand that. And one of the things I get asked a lot on the road is men will come up to me and say, well, I don't have another man in my life. I never knew my dad, or it's a complicated relationship and I'm alone. And I always quote you. And I want you to share. I always talk about your 5 fingers of mentorship in particular, because that framework empowered me to go out and follow you around. So like you became my mentor, and people have a warped sense. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, I think you have to pick your mentors versus mentors picking you.
Correct.
That's one of the 5 fingers. Because, like, for example, if I love poetry, I got to find a mentor from the poetry world. Now, if I want to be a social activist, I got to find social activists from that world. I got to be and even if they don't know they're my mentor, I got to say, you've been there, show me the ropes. And if you can't show me the ropes, I'll follow the thread you're pulling. Everybody is pulling a thread. Follow those threads. And maybe this guy may not be the best guy. I've had mentors who were really hard people to deal with, but I learned what I could and then moved on.
Right.
They were good up to a point. You learn that mentoring is just part of what life is. So the other thing you got to remember is you got to have fire is a very important part of the mentoring process, but not to burn. Fire is passion. If I have the same passion as somebody else, that fire meets fire. If a mentor doesn't have that fire, they're not going to teach. You meet a good mentor when they still have that fire for what they do. I said, man, I want to learn what you know. The other thing you realize that mentoring is different than parenting. I'm not going to be able to my son said, Dad, you're the only mentor I have. I feel sad, but I know what he's saying. He couldn't find it in the world. But I keep trying to tell him, Rico, find it in the world. And if they don't come to you and tell you I'm your mentor, find people that you can follow that thread up to the point that you need to. Parents shouldn't be mentors in that they love their kids differently. Mentors don't really love the mentee as much as they love the same thing, what they're teaching.
Right.
That's the way it should be. That's why mentoring situations could be perverted, because mentors and mentors start thinking they love each other. They don't. They really love what they're teaching. And so you got to set that right. And I also think it's important for mentors and mentees to know that it's part of, again, that transformation thing. The forms change, the content. But what is that content? The spirit you were born with is constant. and the variable is the forms. So, for example, family became a hindrance to me, to my spirit. I had to leave family, and it's terrible, but I had to. But I joined a gang. It's liberating up to a point, but then that became a hindrance. That form was not the right one. I had to leave a gang to work in industry. Okay, that was fine, but then even those forms, you got to keep the spirit going and finding the forms that allow you, the spirit, to keep growing and elevating upwards in the spiral of life, so that you don't get held back by all the forms and all the mentors that could hold you back. And I would say one last thing. A mentor doesn't really save you. People say, well, a mentor saved me. It's not a big heroic act. It could be. It's more like they give you the resources, tools, and connections, whatever you need so you can save yourself. It's more important that you own it instead of, this mentor saved me, it's on them, and praise them. And no, they gave me what I needed, but I had to do it. I own this process. That's an important part of that.
Yeah. And I always I love that because when we were doing this in Silmar Juvenile Hall, and at the time it was more young people were locked up in that facility than any place in the Northern Hemisphere.
Exactly.
And that sense of agency, I saw the light bulbs go on with the probation staff and the youth, because we've been taught that we have to wait for someone to come save us.
Right.
When the truth is we can actually go and find those that have the same passion and fire for what lights us up and learn from them. So we choose our mentors, not the other way around.
That's the way it should be. And in the indigenous communities, they knew that.
Right.
And they knew, and they're waiting for the young person to say, I'm interested in what you know. Okay, then I'll help you. I'll be your teacher. Nobody would say, well, now I'm your mentor with a big M on the forehead. Right. But they got that connection, and then they knew, I have to teach, I got to help. Now it's possible that ain't happening, and you do have to have a mentor set up to work with somebody. But what they generally become is friends, that maybe take them through life. It's okay. It's just not the same thing.
Right.
Because a mentor could be harsh. A mentor is going to be giving you what your parents can't give you. And I don't think they should be ugly, mean, or something like that, but they could be harsh. And you have to know that I got to learn. Like even writing, it's a craft. When people want me to mentor them, I'm not going to baby them.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell them, study the craft, learn poetry. I don't know. Okay, well then maybe that's not what you want to do. And you working with in prisons or working with gang members, I trained a lot of people. I tell them, well, listen, you gotta know how to do this, how to handle this, how to navigate that world. I gotta train them. This is a harsh thing. I'm not gonna yell and scream and make them feel bad. I'm not gonna shame nobody, but I am gonna let them know you're entering things that require you to be at your sharpest. Okay, so you teach people to be masters of whatever they want to do. That's what a good mentor can do.
And so with that being said, you do a lot of reading and studying.
Yeah.
And I wanna before we close this, is just this thing about patterns.
Yeah.
And cycles and spirals, because
Yeah.
that's how the universe is functioning. That's how our DNA is. Mateo, Mayan, Azteca, Zulu, like whatever, it's always in spiral. But there's also tools in nature and in culture, but there's also prophecies.
Yeah.
And I find it very telling that when we were having this conversation about systems breaking down and something wanting to be reborn, when certain, like at least the Mexica calendar, it's already been prophesized years ago that we were supposed to be where we are. And this isn't like a warning or to be scary.
It's not really a prediction. It's more like the patterns have been proven in the past and we're going to go enter them again, but it keeps elevating. Correct. And the thing people think, well, it's not like cycles, like things repeat themselves. Right. They actually become spiral. And it's not a dominant spiral. It's a growth spiral. Things go from lower to higher, from simpler to more complex. But that's life. And I think that's what we're learning. The patterns have been there before. We've been there before. Our ancestors have been here before. Different times, different places, different masters, different, whatever you want to call them. Just at the same time, no human being has been in this time.
Correct.
So we have to follow the patterns, but then we got to know, I also got to figure out something different this time. So I think we're talking about a new world, what that world's going to look like. It's going to be going back to go forward. What do our ancestors teach us? what are the original instructions? Because they're there. They've been with us for a long time. And now is the time that they come alive again. And I think that's why I love these indigenous rooted thinking and teachers. They give you those patterns and they give you those instructions, and they say, now you got to do with it what you need to that maybe I couldn't do, but you can do. So I think people got to feel like we've been here before, but also the moment I'm here, I'm going to add something that nobody else has done. I have something new and unique to contribute.
So Luis, I love this quote that you said about we have to go backwards to go forward. And it reminds me of, going to this National Compadres retreat. There was this moment that was so profound. It actually changed how I view myself and my relationship with materialism. And Google, Google. The whole time people were calling me Google because we always wear hats. And, he's my elder. And I took it as a badge of honor, but I was watching him. I always watch him. And he was trying to give this man who was going through a hard time one of his eagle feathers. And I saw him because, I was watching it and he was going through everything, but he couldn't get it. So then there was this small bag, a plastic bag. And he's like, he takes it out. And I'm watching because it's right here. And he's like, this is my most cherished possession. He said, these are hummingbird feathers. He was in the kitchen over a decade ago, and a hummingbird hit the window and fell. And he went and picked up the hummingbird. He gave it some water, and then hummingbird left. But it left these couple feathers. And he went up to the man and said, in society, men are taught to be the eagle. All like put up our feathers and be like however you're supposed to be. But actually the strongest strength is the hummingbird feather.
Yeah, it's true.
And you reminded me of this because in Mesoamerica, the warriors that were out in front in battle had hummingbird feathers because the hummingbird is the only bird that can go forward and backward like you're asking us to do. And we're living in a time where governance and the way that the structure is being manipulated or controlled or designed in real time is not the way of the hummingbird.
There you go.
And so what is your thoughts about how can we glean the knowledge from our ancestral traditions, our indigenous knowledge to help us in a time where governance is breaking down and a new form of governance and being should be born?
So I call it shared well-being because there's no other better word. We make sure that everybody is taken care of. That's what we indigenous societies did. There was no prisons in those societies. There was no homeless people. With very little technological, but all technology was in accord with nature. It wasn't like now where technology is totally destroying part of nature. In accord with nature, we move forward. Technology is important, but you don't go against nature. So what I was thinking, okay, and then how do we look at governance? Well, thinking about those 4 key connections, they should be all engaged and integrated. But there's another thing in relationship to that. One is a lot of the the elders we used to do before they met in council was to go to nature, do vision quests. Let the land talk to you. Be open. What is the land telling me? I'm just not going. The legislature is not just these 20 people or 200 some people. It's also the trees. It's also the rocks. What are they telling me? They're open to listen to nature. And then they got to be open to their own hearts. What is their own nature telling them? Because they have to rely on that intuitive body. We have the mind body, the emotional body, there's an intuitive body. What is that showing you? In other words, you engage all these things. And then you think about, okay, all our relations, ometaukiasin, which the Lakota would say, how do we make sure that shared well-being, that everybody benefits from this, not just a few? Everybody, if I'm going to decide something, I want to make sure everybody's going to benefit. And the way that they think is if you take care of everybody, it includes you. So you're going to be included. If you make sure everybody's got food, shelter, clothing, they got the basics to live, good, health care, whatever it is might be, make sure everybody gets it because that includes you and your family. It's not just, I just want to take care of me and my family, forget everybody. And then, of course, you got to be open to the divine in all kinds of ways. The sacred meets the mundane, the profane. That's the portal. When you're It's almost like walking with water and sand. When you walk on, you get a spiritual thing when you walk water and sand because you're in between worlds. You're in Nepantla, as Gloria Asadil would say. You want to be in those in between spaces because they open up both sides. And so I think that governance has to be more like that, be more well-rounded, more thinking of the how many more people can benefit versus less, and making sure that the land and the people are all properly taken care of so that all of us can be in an abundant space, not a scarcity place. I think I'm looking at these things to see how we can reimagine governance because it can't be done the way the system is now. It's not going to be about one party over another party. And I know that there's a lot of imagination for a system after capitalism, but I do think that what I like to do is go back to the original instruction, but putting it forward, and see how where we're at could also move forward. The technology is good in one level, but it's also destructive. How do you keep the destructive part? And how do you keep the good aspects? Again, I have an energy that, and I got a name, Mishkoat. Isla Quilo, I have a Mexican name. Mishkoat means the cloudy serpent is the galaxy, but it also means the spiral in the world and universe. And then the earth, it's the tornado energy, the vortex. Tornado energy is both destructive and constructive. Nature needs it. You got to let it be. But if you build yourself a home in Tornado Alley, you're going to be destroyed. So you have to be able to imagine what you're going to do so that, I'm going to let this energy go, but I'm not going to let it destroy. So that's the way I look at my energy. If I have a tornado energy, it's very powerful. I got to make sure that destructive part of it isn't loosed, but what is unleashed is that part that helps eventually integrate the world. So I think I'm looking at governance in a different way, and I hope that's helpful. Yeah. I'm barely touching it. I want to write about this. I'm going back to all my elders and all my teachings and see how I can put this together. I feel like it's something that I can do, and hopefully open the door for others to participate.
Yeah, and I know one thing that I'm called to share is just there's such a distrust of government in general.
Yeah.
We're saying governance, but government.
Yeah.
But all government is local.
Yeah,
all governance starts at home, right?
Yeah.
So if we govern ourselves and our relationship with family, friends, nature,
very true,
then we can model because, what is happening now is not working.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that what we can do individually in our communities can't work.
So that's why, like I said, in my home, we're agreement. There's a shared agreement.
Correct.
We're going to care for each other. We're going to make sure everybody's taken care of. We're not going to shame nobody. There's not yelling or anything like that. It's not, you yell when take yourself. Tree branch is going to fall down. But you don't build a world in which everybody feels so stressed, the cortisol comes in,
Right.
And that's the world that we're in.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure in my home, I want people to not be stressed. I want people to feel that there's a lot of love and that we're going to do the things that are best healthy for all of us. And I think you're right. And even the Zapatistas realized that they wanted local government run by the indigenous people themselves, not a big central government that's going to run everything. So the Zapatistas don't really care for whatever Mexican government is there. I'm not saying some of them is good. I think what the present government, Scheinbaum, is doing is better than was ever done before.
Right.
But they're still saying, but still, we got to make sure our communities, our villages, our children are taken care of. And locally, we can do it better than if we ask the government to come in here and do it for us. But there's got to be a role at certain places for government to make sure that they don't manage people, they manage things. And I mean resources.
Right.
Make sure that everybody's got the resources they need. Manage those things, but make sure that people can govern themselves more than anything.
I love it. Well, we're going to go into the last segment when it's called the Sacred Five. Because there's so much that was shared, but this is our segment. I ask 5 questions, 1 word or 1 sentence, but it's our way to give like practical things for those that are listening. So the first thing is name 3 things that make you feel safe, connected, and whole.
Well, I'm very personal about this. One is my great companion, beautiful Trini. Finding a companion is hard. and you know this. And I've had a hard battle with it because I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know. I didn't have good models, you know. But somehow, again, Spirit brought me to this beautiful woman. We've been together 40 years. I get emotional because I can't imagine a better partner. It was almost like our spirits kept coming together, and somehow we lost each other. We were not always there. I knew her for 10 years before we came together. So I find her very important part of my life. And then, of course, it's my children, because then I bear these children, and I think, what had I done? You know, it's like that beautiful poem of Antonio Machado. What happened to the garden? The nature's telling me, what happened to the garden I gave you to tend? I messed it up. So I have these beautiful children, and I didn't tend it well. But now I have to step up and say, I'm still around. I'm still their father. I got to do it. I got to help tend them, even though they're grown up. I'm not going to treat them like kids. I still got to tend them. My daughter just went through this terrible brain. She had 4 aneurysms and meningitis. She was in bad shape. She's doing better. I had to come step up. And both me and Trini were there for her, and the whole family showed up. We weren't sure she was going to make it. She's doing good. She's 48 years old, and a lot of it is her stress, diabetes, everything else she's going through. So we have to keep tending that garden that we've been entrusted, and so I feel that that's a very important part of it. The third thing would be my own gifts, whatever. I got to tend to that. That's a garden that I've been given. I can't let it get full of weeds. You know, so I feel that those are the 3 things that allow me to be more at home every time in myself.
Before I go on, I just want to honor your tears and allowing me to also cry, because when you were sharing, I felt it, but I was feeling like, dang, that would be like my 3. And I don't think I tell my partner enough that she is that number 1. And so to feel your emotion and to be sync with it, I just want to say thank you for that. So the second one, what song, book, or prayer brings you back to yourself?
I have to go back to the 60s. My favorite song was Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. And I'll tell you why. It was a song that was not expected. I understood they didn't want him to do it. He could make a lot of songs just crooning, singing, whatever he was doing. He wanted to step into the world in a different way. And it taught me that we all need to do that. There's a place for all the stuff that people do, you know, romantic songs, all that's beautiful, everything's good. But he stepped to it hard. If you listen to What's Going On even now, it's still prevalent. It's still beautiful. And I'll tell you one quick story. I was on Stevie Wonder's show. And Stevie Wonder was my hero, man. Since I was a little kid, Stevie Wonder. I was in a show, I got to meet him. I came kind of like I got voiceless. I couldn't say the right words. Had me in his show, and at one point he asked me, well, why don't we sing a song? I said, dude, I can't sing. I said, don't worry about it. It's auto-tune. Okay. What do you want to sing? Do you want to sing Oye Como Va or, Bla Bamba? I don't know what he was thinking. I go, no, I have my favorite song, Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? So there is a recording somewhere of me and Stevie Wonder. He's playing, he's got this mechanical, where he can see the music, and it's all out of tune. Me and him are singing together What's Going On. I know that's a beautiful thing that life puts together that you don't expect,
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, no.
For that memory. And this one's a good one. I'm anxious to hear this one. What's one daily ritual or practice that grounds you?
Well, there's a lot of things, but I think, believe it or not, it's when I go to my art. I feel more complete when I'm writing. And again, everybody should figure out what their art is. But I found that I do a lot of things. We have sage, we do prayer, we have a candle that we keep going for the ancestors, have an altar that we keep all year round. It's not just for Day of the Dead or something. We do a lot of things that grounds us to the world. But for me personally, and I now I use computer. I can't really write that well, so I'm just there from the computer and the words coming out of me. And whether it's a poem, a short story, just an essay, I got a Substack now, so I'm writing things. I feel more grounded there. And again, it's just something, finding your place in the world through your own particular art is really important. And it could be anything. I mean, I'm writing, but other people find other things. So I would say that's probably, and again, yes, being with my wife's company, being with my kids, all that's amazing, beautiful, but it's a primary agreement we make with the world. Those are all, I hate to say secondary, but there's agreements that we have to make with job, family, and everything else. But the primary one is keeping that art alive, keeping yourself alive, keeping your soul, spirit going in the direction you were supposed to live anyway.
So then I take from that is your art form is writing. So therefore that is your primary agreement to self, that's what's going to ground me every day.
Exactly.
Got it. What's one small action listeners can take on their healing journey this week?
Well, I think healing is a constant thing. People think, well, I'm going to get healed. It's not a cure, like I'm cured. Human beings are constantly in search of healing. But I do know one thing. If you have healing in your life, you want to heal others. You become the wounded healer. And that's what you and me are become. We've been wounded in our own ways, but out of that, we become healers. And then we want to do something else. This is the hard part. I also want to heal the world. I realize that the whole world's wounded. So as I'm going to my own personal healing paths, I have to think about how can I contribute so the world can have its medicine, that I can be medicine for the world. Not everybody wants to do that, but that's something I feel.
Right, that's yours.
It's important that be part of the healing path.
All right, last one, Luis. The closing blessing, we call it. Share a one-line blessing or quote that inspires you.
What's a line from the poet Rodríguez? What is madness but the nobility of soul at odds with circumstance? And poets always have these layered meanings. That's one of them. I have so many of them, but that's one of them that really opened me up. Because we look at people who are artists as kind of mad. We look at mad people as kind of weird. We look at even gay and trans people as there's something wrong with them. If that's true, they're carrying the nobility of soul that can't reconcile with the world that's crushing all of us. And so in many ways, us artists, poets, even gay, trans, even, so-called mad people can be the seeds for the new kind of birth that we're looking at, because those are people that aren't going to conform necessarily. They're not going to just step into a world that others have made. They're going to find their own way. They're going to carve their own way. And I would think that's very important to remember. It's the melody of soul that has to be, met and alive and kept integral. And even if that means you have to step out of the box, step out of the whatever somebody says you need to do, keep your nobility. Don't let that get compromised.
Thank you, Luis. Well, I've been blessed to know you. Hopefully another 50 years with AI, maybe hundreds of years. But if I want to follow you and learn more, where do I go?
Well, I do have a website, luisjrodriguez.com. I have a Substack. I think you put Luis J. Rodríguez in Substack, my name pops up. I'm writing regularly. I'm on social media, different Instagram. It's different things. I think on Instagram it's L. Rodríguez. I think whatever. I don't get them all.
We'll put it up on the show notes.
One thing that's important to me is Tia Chucha Centro Cultural. Yeah. So please go to TIACHUCHA.org. Because me and my wife started it 24 years ago. It's still going. These young people that are running it now are doing amazing, wonderful work. Trini and me, mostly Trini, helped mentor them. Since some of them high school now, they're in their early 40s. They've hired other young people. So we've turned everything over to them. They're doing great. And we don't do the day-by-day work. We're always there. She's president of the board. I help whatever I can. But it's so good to know that community can hold the space that we created, we envisioned it, but it's theirs now. Yeah. And so please go to Tia Chucha and find out more about what we do there.
Great. Well, just in wrapping, my father now has been gone 10 years. My relationship is closer to my dad now in his passing than it was, because he sees everything I do, and I'm very open with him about things. And But I'm also very cognizant now of also giving flowers to those that are still living. So I just want to give you your flowers yet again, and every time I can, to bless up on you, to love you. Today you shared so many words of wisdom. Things that really stuck out to me, though, Louis, was this truth that the medicine we need is inside us and in our traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And that we have to honor the agreements and the relationships with self, others, nature, the cosmos.
Yeah.
But then also what we may see as madness is the seed to a new world.
That's right.
And those that we often see as outcasts are actually the bringers of truth if we are open to see that.
There you go.
And I've learned from you so much that you have to go through the wound to find your gift. Yeah. That also means you have to be proximate to those places we're afraid to go to, both personally and societally.
Exactly right.
So I just want to say thank you for all that you continue to do for your ancestors, for Trini, the love of your life and your kids. And I'm just blessed, and I'm glad that people can hear this conversation and learn about your remarkable journey. So thank you for being on this.
I appreciate this so much. I'm so glad I got invited.
Yeah.
I take these invitations seriously. And I'll just say for you, I hope your success keeps going, because the difference with you and other people that have success, you take what you learn with you and you expand on it. So that's what's good about when you get more out there, the world gets better. Thank you.
Thank you. I receive. Thank you, Luis.
Sacred Lessons is a production of iHeart's My Cultura podcast network, Sacred Lessons Media, and the Prince Group. For more of your favorite shows, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.